They say that sooner or later, all good things must come to an end. Well, here we are. Let's get into it. What up, y'all? I'm Christopher Markland, author of the books Desperately Seeking Exclusivity, Desperately Seeking Pleasure, with book number 3, Desperately Seeking Clarity, coming soon. Yo, we are here. We're at the end, the finale, the last episode of season 4 of Ready to Love. This is part 2 of the reunion special. And of course, this is my analysis / review. As I've done all season, y'all, you know, I don't just regurgitate or tell y'all what we've already seen, or if you haven't seen it, I'm not just going to retell you, the show itself, but I'm going to use the show to break down what I feel are, male and female, man-woman interactions when it comes to the pursuit of love and relationships. And this show definitely gives you some good stuff to bounce off of. But before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to each and every last one of y'all that's either subscribed to the channel, or, if you join me on when I premiere each one of these reviews, or left comments or questions, or just reached out to me via email, social media. I've had a few of you just, hit me up. I just want to say thank each and every last one of you for following me, for supporting me, not just on my reviews of Ready to Love, but also, as you guys know, I also do my Markland Mondays. And of course, I just mentioned them, I'm an author as well. So I just want to say thank each and every last one of y'all for supporting me in the many ways that you have. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you again. Are you interested in AJ?
My heart was into AJ, and I think he knows that. But like I said before, that space took too many hits. It shouldn't be this difficult, it shouldn't be this hard, and the things that I stand on in a committed relationship are not there.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, right. We already knew what Kyra's answer is going to be, but I will say this. Jason said it a couple episodes back, and famous R&B icon, he said it as well. Being in a relationship, getting with someone, being with somebody should be easy, like, dare I say, a Sunday morning. It shouldn't be that difficult at all. And if you want to lay the blame at Kyra, if you want to lay the blame at AJ, just Kyra's whole interaction with Jason and how they even got to this point, it really doesn't matter who you want to say is at fault. At the end of the day, AJ's pursuit of Kyra's way of being pursued either by AJ or by Jason has just been problematic, and it has been way more difficult than it has to be. And I think that's the reason why they find themselves where they are.
Troy, how many women amongst my 10 did you offer trips to?
Thought it was just...
He doesn't know.
Two.
Welcome to tonight's episode of Who Wants to Be Ready to Love? Now, you just heard Tommy, but I'm going to repeat the question. Of those 10 ladies, how many of them did Troy offer trips to? Now, you heard his answer. He thinks it's going to be A, 2. However, the other answers on the board are B, 3 to 4, C, 5 to 9, or D, 10, meaning all 10 of those lovely ladies. Now, you heard Troy's answer, but let's see what the answer really is. Let's find out.
Ladies, did you have a discussion or was offered a trip by show of hands?
I was off the first one.
Okay, that's 3 trips. How many got a kiss? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you done kissed half the cast, boy.
So the answer is B. 3 of those women, 30% of the group, is who he offered trips to. He also kissed 4 of the women without permission. I mean, just the whole vibe that Troy put off, the whole way he carried himself. I'll be honest with you, as soon as they introduced him in like the first or second episode, that's when I realized, you know what, this is going to be a long ass season. Because if of all of the people in Houston, he is an example of one of the men that they found and they thought would be a good candidate for the show, I knew, like I said, we're going to be in for a long season, and the man did not disappoint.
So did you learn anything from this process?
Be careful. Think about what you're doing, especially in front of the camera.
What about when there's no cameras, though, Troy?
I mean, once again,
everyday life, there's no cameras.
Well, let me just say this. Everyday life is everyday life.
And see, that right there is one of the main issues that I have with Troy. Think about it. This dude is 51. He is the oldest member of the group of 20. So that means that being that old, or at least, you know what, that's going off of what the website says. And I'm going to touch on the Ready to Love website in just a second as well. But The dude is 51 years old, and what he said is that of the things that he's learned is how to do stuff in front of the camera. That's another issue that I've got. I'm gonna touch on that as well in a few. It's like, bruh, they've told you, and in fact, I didn't add the clip, but even Amber was like, "Yo, you said that was your signature move. You think that's a smooth, suave way of operating, but in reality, bro, you're being a creep." And that, honestly, in my opinion, is why the dude is 51 and still a bachelor, because instead of him being open and learning someone and being with somebody, he has a script. And I touched on this when I reviewed that particular episode. He has a script that he follows in his mind where he's like, all right, I'm gonna do my signature move here. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And in reality, people sooner or later, they're gonna see through the BS. And that, quite honestly, is why he's a 51-year-old bachelor.
You left early in this process. What have you learned from this experience?
That sometimes I can be maybe not assertive enough is what the feedback that I got.
Okay.
Which can be true. It does take a little while for me to open up.
With Andrea, it had nothing to do with her not being assertive, but it had a whole lot to her, one, being awkward, and two, not being aware of how old she is, meaning she's 38. However, she is not aware that her age is going to affect the consequences of what it is that she wants. One of the issues that they talked about on the show, there was a conversation with her and Ron, and she was like, she wants to be a mother, but for the first but she also wants to stay in her career. So what she was saying was that for the first couple years, she's going to be at home, but then she's going to go back to her career of being a flight attendant of all things, which means that she is going to be traveling all over, be it domestically or internationally. The bottom line is she's not going to be at home to raise her kids. Now, that would be one thing if she was, say, maybe in her 20s, but if you're in your late 30s going into your 40s, the just trying to make that work is going to be difficult at best, impossible at worst. However, it seemed like she wasn't aware of that. It seemed like she wanted to have it both ways. And that's one of the things that ultimately led to her being, removed from the show, if you will. I mean, eliminated, let me put it that way. So she seemed like a cool enough lady, I guess. Like I said, kind of awkward in how she was moving. You heard them talking about her cats or whatnot. But as I said, it got nothing to do with, her lack of assertiveness, but just more, I believe, to where her mindset was as the men were who did get to know her, when they realized that, what she's looking for and what her expectations are weren't matching up with the reality of where she was in life.
On top of, I made a strong connection with that woman over there, and I'm sitting there like, I really like her. And so at that point, it's just me trying to understand you. I'm just curious, like, what do you want?
So if we're to understand, he had already made his decision. However, he was just trying to satisfy his curiosity as to why or what decision Kyra was going to make and why. Y'all, that's kind of the problem that I have with how he was moving at that point. He made his decision. He knew what he wanted, so therefore move on. But instead, he kept trying to figure it out. Like I said, I have no issue with the decision that Jason made. He chose who he wanted to be with. Cool. No issue with that. It's just that the moves that he was making prior to his, well, I guess from what he said, he made the decision weeks before. But as far as what we saw, how he was moving in the pursuit of Kyra towards the end, that's the real issue that I have with how everything went down.
You want me to give you something
So hold on.
that you wasn't giving me?
Well, hang on, let me ask this question.
I had not made a decision. There's a difference. You did make a decision. I did not. If you had made your mind up, just tell me. I did not make my mind up. I told you my truth. My truth was I did not know. When I talked to AJ, I told him I don't know.
And I get you.
And once again, that to me was the crux of the matter. That was the whole issue that I had. Okay. Now, Jason had made up his mind, be it weeks ago, like he told Liz, or be it right before the deliberation, as he's kind of sort of saying now. Regardless of whether he made up his decision, when he made his decision, he still made a decision, but he didn't tell Kyra what his decision was. Because as I said when we reviewed that particular episode, how him making a decision not only affected Kyra, but it also affected AJ. It also affected Alexis. But he didn't share that decision because, as he just said earlier, he was curious to how she was moving. You know, she was a science experiment. He wanted to see how that worked out. So that was the issue that I had. He didn't share, you know, he didn't share his decision with Kyra. However, he wanted Kyra to make a decision and share that with him right then and there. That to me is the whole issue, and that was the problematic aspect of it.
Still had feelings for you, but I also had feelings for her, so I really was torn. You're calculated, you're a good speaker, you're smart, and you're intellectual. However, when it comes to your emotions and asking for transparency with your heart and how you feel, there's no communication there.
Being torn or anything like that is not the issue, again. And kind of how he just did that as to where she's smart, she's this, but she's not emotionally. That to me that's some BS, and it's also trying to divert from the issue at hand, which is, hey man, if you made a decision, you didn't share it with me, but you wanted me to make a decision and share that with you. So all of that other stuff that he's talking about has got nothing to do with nothing. Again, Jason's final ultimate decision to be with Liz is his decision, and I'm happy for the dude. He chose who he wanted to be with. However, he made a choice and he wants to move forward, but at the same time, he was holding Kyra captive for her to make a choice, and ultimately it wouldn't have mattered anyway because Jason had made his choice. That is the issue that I have with how he moved in that particular situation.
Honesty and transparency,
Okay,
you had the opportunity to tell me and you didn't because
Why?
you said you made
You're
your
not-
mind.
we're not
Because I didn't
even-
have a decision made, so it's not the
So
same
why
thing.
Y'all going in circles.
Boy.
Listen, you made your decision. You
Yes,
made your
I did.
decision, and now Tommy got to make a decision. Listen, it's
At the end of the day, Jason made his decision, and quite honestly, it seems to be working out for him. He's with a good woman. They seem to be happy, and I'm happy for them. I mean, cool, black love. I love it. That still doesn't change that what Kyra is saying, and pretty much from my analysis of how things went down, Kyra's 100% right in that Jason, how he moved in that situation of making a demand for Kyra to make an answer as far as who she chose, whereas he made a choice but didn't have to say anything. That to me was a little bit, just wrong. Like I said, problematic. Now, what I'm seeing now is that because he's in a better situation, he's with Liz and they're happy, whereas Kyra is basically with nobody, AJ's with nobody, Alexis, it didn't work out for them. Now, it seems like he's sitting back like, shit, yeah, I made the right decision. Of course, you made your decision, but you didn't allow her to have the same room to maneuver like you did. That right there, again, is my main issue with how the entire thing went down.
If you did what you needed to do, you spoke your piece, and that's it. He had a good point. Like, you were making very valid points. You handled yourself well, and with respect. I'm happy she got a chance to say what she said her piece. Now that should be it.
Boy, Liz gonna stand by her man no matter what. I appreciate that about her. Like I said, I am glad that Jason made his choice, and it seems that he's working out. And what Liz just said is 100% right. She, being Kyra, had the opportunity to say her piece, and that should be the end of it. Lord knows I doubt it the way this cast likes to go live, but I'm gonna touch on that in a minute. However, at the end of the day, Kyra said what she had to say. Jason said what he had to say. Hopefully it's over and done. They can move on. Jason and Liz can move on in theirs, and Kyra can figure out what she's gonna do from there.
do you make sense to each other?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
If we would have had this conversation when that was going on of what we saw, could things have gone a different way?
I think,
I think so.
what I think, again, it goes back to actively listening. That's the success and failure of any relationship.
We've talked about it at length this season that communication is an important one of the big three when it comes to having a solid, secure relationship. You have to have sex, communication, and finances, right? So with that, part of good communication is also being a good listener, or as David just said, an active listener. You are listening not just to what they're saying, but you're also listening to their body language, and you're also listening to their actions, meaning, you know, how they carry themselves, the things that you know that you hold important. Are they doing those things to show you that they care about you? Those are the things that you are listening to. You're not just listening specifically during a conversation. You're not just listening for a pause so that way you can jump in and make your point. You're actively listening to what they are saying and what they are trying to convey to you. Just because they're not using the right words, just because there's a lack of specificity in what they're saying, you understand the gist of either the emotions that they're trying to share with you, the feelings, the point that they're trying to make. That is what active listening is all about. And being an active listener is such a huge key component in communication in the long term of making a relationship work.
About 2 weeks after filming, he changed. What y'all see and how we were filming, that's not what I got. We don't talk anymore. My decision. And he made it seem like I was moving too fast, but I was going the same pace that we was going.
Tommy hinted at it, and you know, even throughout my reviews, I said it consistently with each and every episode that we saw them together. Joel and Verneashia were in cruise control. Things just seemed to be going smooth, and you know, everything just seemed to be going well for them. The way they clicked, their communication, of course, they had their ups and downs, you know, the whole Kyra issue and all of that. But outside of that, things seemed to be going well. But the more I listen to Verneashia in this particular episode, and I'm going to break it down as best I can, the more I listen to her, the more some of the things that Joel said way back when started to make sense. You know, at the time, I didn't quite understand it, but the more I listened to her, the more I watched how they communicate with each other, the more I realized that what Joel was saying actually did add up.
Joel, I want to talk about what happened after the process. Between you and Verneashia.
Well, I'm respecting her way of saying what she's saying. So, of course, I'm going to say my piece.
Okay.
So Joel let her speak, let her, you know, share her feelings, you know, relate to Tommy and the rest of the group and to us, you know, how hurt she was, how Joel hurt her, and all of that. She was able to get all of that out with no interruption, no nothing, right? So with that, you know, Joel now is his turn, right? For him to speak his piece and to say, hey, these are the things, because whether you agree with him or disagree, whether he's right or wrong, how he feels about it, how he views it, his perspective, all of that matters. However,
I wanted to make sure that I got a genuine friendship connection.
Joel is so big on being friends with everybody that he neglected me.
Can I finish, V? Can I finish?
Okay.
So Joel's concern way back when was that Verneashia was clingy. Now, when he said that, it seemed to come out the blue. And in that episode, I was like, wait a minute, bro, where the hell did that come from? And y'all remember, you see the link up there. I was all over that because I'm like, yo, nothing that Verneashia did at the time even spoke to anything of clinginess. I thought it had something to do with, you know, the situation that was going on with them at the time. However, as I'm sitting there, I want y'all to remember this. There's an old adage, I'm sure you've heard it. A hit dog will holler. So, like I said, Joel let her speak, and now when it's his turn to talk, he started to show a situation or a scenario. And before he could even get started, Verneashia jumped in to try and either defend, deflect, whatever the case may be, instead of letting him speak. And that to me is very telling, because what Joel was saying was that, yo, I've got friends, I do this and whatever, but she jumped in right away. I hate to say, but the more I listen to what Verneashia is saying, I kind of sort of agree with Joel's initial response, his reaction, and saying that Verneashia is clingy.
Now, if you let her tell it, my last message from Verneashia, I'm dating Stacy.
Well, that's the word on the street. He was hanging more out with Stacy and Chrysanthemum than he was with me. On top of that, I heard that Stacy asked him, did he have a girlfriend?
So Verneashia referenced word on the street, and that's what they say. Whenever I hear people do that, it gets on my doggone nerves, because what you're doing is you're citing unnamed sources and you're listening to all of these people. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, you know, down the line. But one of the things that really bugged me about this season was the amount of extra that we got from this particular cast. I don't know, maybe if it's just Houston, maybe it's just a sign of the times that we're in, but it seemed like everybody had something to say, either from the cast or the other way around. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I do these reviews every week. I say my piece, you know, and there's a lot of us, we love the show, we make our comments. It's part of it, if you will. However, it seemed that the cast felt the need to, I guess, respond to every damn thing. And quite honestly, you're never going to please anybody. The minute you get in front of this camera, just like I am now, you're going to get comments and, I mean, all kinds of stuff. People going to troll you. You're going to do everything. You're going to get it all. And part of taking the step like I am right now to, you know, run my mouth and give my opinion, people damn sure are going to give theirs. However, if I feel the need to respond to every damn negative comment that I get, man, I would be here all day and nothing would get done. That was one of the main issues that I had with this season. Like I said, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit later on, but it's, and you hear it right now. If you start listening to all of these people, word on the street, and what they say instead of focusing on your relationship's gonna fail.
Have you been going out with Stacey?
No.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't go out, man. I've been to watch parties. Now, they did ask me, how's it going with my girlfriend? And I said, I don't have a girlfriend. What you talking about? And they say, what you and Verneashia? I said, we taking our time. That was it.
A few episodes back, Ida chastised Khalil about him going public with their relationship without her consent. Meaning, Ida and Khalil did not have a conversation where they agreed to say, hey, we are going to go public about our relationship on this forum in front of the whole world. Basically, yeah, we're dating. All right. Now, let's flip it around a little bit. If Joel and Verneashia did not have a conversation about them being boyfriend and girlfriend, then it would make sense that if he's asked that question, hey, what's going on with your girlfriend? He's going to be like, hey, I don't have a girlfriend. One thing that we've seen about Joel, and I've commented on it, is that the dude, if he's asked a question, he's going to answer it honestly. He may not be transparent and give you the information ahead of time, but if he's asked a question, he's going to answer it honestly based on how he is, his feelings at that moment. So if he's asked that question about whether or not you have a girlfriend, it's not necessarily a matter of him downplaying their relationship. It just very well could be the honest answer if he and Verneashia have not agreed that they were in fact a boyfriend and girlfriend. It doesn't matter how they move throughout the show. They could have had a great band camp type situation where we're together in this and we're a team, but then once we leave the camera, the lights are off and the camera's off, now it's a little different. Of course we don't know the conversations, but it makes sense that he would answer the question the way he did if they did not have an agreement to say, yeah, we are a true bona fide couple.
I know what I said, and I never said nothing to downplay us. Me telling somebody I don't have a girlfriend, I'm taking my time, that ain't downplaying us, right? But I don't know how that get back to you, but I know what I said.
Because it was said to me that Stacey thought that you was still fair game.
Where you hearing this from? Where this coming from?
The cast.
The cast.
The cast? Y'all, at this point, this is just childish as hell to me. It's like I hear what she's saying. All of these people are saying this and all of these people are saying that. I really wish Tommy would have done like he did in some other, when he did earlier. It's like, hey, show of hands. How many of y'all said something about Verneashia and, what was it, Stacey and Joel or whatever? Nah, it would have been messy because, you know, people would either raise their hands or they didn't, but at least we would know what is being said. And that is part of the problem, like I just said. You have all of these people supposedly saying this and saying that, when in reality, stop listening to them damn folks and listen to either what Joel is or isn't saying. If you don't like what he's saying, then you move on. If you do like what he's saying, then you let all that noise fall to the breeze and you focus on your relationship. But it seems like all of the external noise has such an internal effect on her relationship.
Why is Stacey's name being invoked?
I have no idea, Stacey.
Hey, let's get it.
If that's not true, Stacey, I do apologize, but I did hear that, and I'm woman enough to admit that.
I mean, because you was acting real ugly with me.
Well, I don't like move certain stuff, and I feel like a lot of times you will overstep boundaries.
Of what?
That's a damn good question. Now, how can you expect somebody to respect a boundary that they don't even know is there? Don't get me wrong. If Stacey does in fact know that, Joel and Verneashia were in a bona fide relationship and she did something to cross the boundaries, then so be it. However, if you have a situation where Verneashia is hearing the word on the street and they said this and the cast said that, then of course her guard is going to be up. There's an old saying that if you're a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. Meaning, if you have your focus and it's set up like this, then every time you see something, you think that that's exactly what it is, when the rest of the world is looking like, what the hell is she talking about? They don't see it the way you do. Verneashia's guard was up because she felt wronged. Well, now, whether she was right or wrong, it doesn't matter. That's how she felt. And because of that, she expected everybody to maneuver a certain way. And if they weren't moving that way, then they had to be against her. That's not a good place to be, because you're setting unrealistic expectations for the people around you, because they don't know what the hell's going on.
Of whatever, considering you knew me and Joel dating. I seen you put your hand on Joel's chest.
When?
Y'all was standing in a corner and you did something to this nature, to his chest. I told him, he
I don't
knows
even
I'm not
recall
lying.
that.
I don't recall.
Because I don't touch on people like that.
Again, if the boundaries that were being violated were of Verneashia's creation and the other two aren't aware of the fact that they're violating said boundaries, when they're asked about it, then of course they're going to be like, I don't recall that, because to them it could be an inconsequential activity, but to her, like I said, she's a hammer at this point. So when she sees that, well, god darn it, that's a nail. It doesn't necessarily match up with their perspective of how they're seeing things, because to them it's just, nothing big, but to her it's like, aha, see, I knew it, because word on the street is Stacey's trying to do this. I'm not saying that Verneashia is wrong. I'm not saying, but what I am saying is that the way that they answered the question was like, man, I don't recall that, because to them, no big deal. It's just people hanging out. Like Joel said earlier, I go to watch parties at a party, people hang out, do certain things. They're not crossing any lines. They're not violating any boundaries. But to Verneashia, it's all, nope, that's not it, because once again, Joel's moving different. So, and I'm hearing that Stacey's doing this. 1 + 1 = 2. There it is. That's what it is. And now that's why she's part of the reason why she's upset as she is.
I got a message from Amber. She said, I'm sorry to hear your mother-in-law died. Well, if you need anything, let me know. I don't care what it is, Joy, even if it's just to go get something to eat. I said, okay, you know what? I might take that up on you.
Okay.
Now, one thing Amber told me was, she said, I would have been very upset with you if you'd have did that.
I said that, Amber?
Yeah, you said you would have been very upset.
The amount of he said and she said and I heard this and the street said that in this whole conversation is just downright ridiculous to me. Like Verneashia said, there is a lack of boundaries, and the boundaries are actually on her and Joel's part, but I'm gonna leave this one at her. The boundaries are, keep your damn relationship in your relationship. If you have all of these people, all of this noise, like I said earlier, coming into your relationship, you got a whole bunch of fog, a whole bunch of nonsense, and it is going to be hard, if not damn near impossible, for you to focus on what is really real and what isn't. Like I said, when this camera's on, there are plenty of people like myself who we're all adding in our 2 cents and like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? And all this other nonsense. If you were to listen to what people like me are saying, trust, I am giving nothing but my opinion, my analysis, what I think. If that ain't got nothing to do with what Verneashia and Joel got going on, keep it pushing. And quite honestly, it shouldn't. I think that nowadays with social media and the ready access that, one, people have to your relationships, because 2, you put it out there, you're going to start getting input. And when people start coming into your situation, they're not coming all the time to show you love and, oh, no, they're coming to break your stuff apart. Keep your stuff out and away from the public and focus on what you have, and things are going to go a whole lot better in the long run. And we're seeing it right here with Verneashia and Joel, where with Verneashia, it's like you keep hearing her saying this, and that is a huge problem, not just for them, but for people in modern relationships as a whole. Keep your relationships private. It's just you and your partner, and keep it pushing.
I told you I'm not going to do this. We got off the phone. Can I ask her a question?
Sure.
Did you say you was gonna slap somebody if you saw them in my face?
What? First of all,
I'm just asking.
I'm 40 years old. I'm not supposed to be fighting nobody behind a man.
It ain't got nothing to do with me, but I'm just asking you a question.
Joel,
Okay.
One thing I always do, not just with this show, but just in life in general, is when a question is asked, I I listen to see if they actually answer that question, or if they obfuscate or try and go all around the damn world and change the subject and do any and everything to avoid answering the question. Like I said, one thing about Joel, when that dude is asked a question, he will answer it. Now, whether you agree with his answer, whether you disagree, if he's right or wrong, whatever, the answer that he gives is true to him. You can't knock a dude for that. Like I said, you don't necessarily like it, but damn it, you got to respect it, because the answer is a real and true answer. He just asked Joel just asked Verneashia a question, and if you notice, she didn't answer it. She started talking about, I'm 40 years old, I'm this, I'm that, but she did not answer the question, which leads me to believe that the scenario that he posed as far as what she said, the answer is right there. She did in fact say that, and that's what caused one of the many reasons that he pulled back. Whether you agree with that or not, that's a different story, but I can see where he's coming from. Like, you know what, man, this is just not necessarily what I want.
When she did say I had her heart, Liz also shared something with me off camera. She says, David, I've always had a man in my life, but we would get close and then he would leave. You remember sharing that with me?
Yeah, I
Okay.
share that with everybody. That's my
All right,
testimony.
no
Right.
problem. I said, I don't want to be one of them men.
Let me stop you right there.
So last review, I talked about how there's a certain dignity in a man being able to take an L. Now, in the game of love, you're going to win, you're going to lose. However, just because you lose, that does not necessarily make you a loser unless you act like one. Now, what the hell does Liz sharing something like that with him have to do with how he acts and how he carries himself? What that is, it just is what we've seen of David this entire season, is that no matter what happens, no matter what he's done, no matter how he's carried himself, no matter what mistakes he's made, he still has to find some kind of way to make it seem like he is this upstanding man who's this. It's disheartening to watch it happen.
They called me, and I guess she had a conversation with somebody and found out that I didn't put her number one. She led with this. I heard blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you something. Anytime you call me and you're talking about I heard, man, I'm over that. I'm much more mature than those conversations.
This dude, man. You know, like I said with Ron, I'm kind of leery of dudes who always have something to say, always have to have the last word. But more so when it comes to David, one thing about him is that he always finds a way to be this valiant hero, this knight, this good guy. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, bruh, sometimes you ain't got to go back and forth. Like I said, all the he said and she said and stuff like that, bro, just let it go. But that's one thing that, and like I said, it's been consistent throughout. And I'm gonna touch on it again, the whole social media thing where I'm gonna go live and give my side of the story. It's like this at this point, it just gets to be too much.
Stacy, Andrea, you took them on dates, and you told them that they weren't ready to love. They woman up and they took it.
I
didn't
did.
like it, but they took it. You know what I'm saying? So it just looks like, okay, now it's your turn, and you can't take it.
We talked about it then, and Tommy hit the nail on the head. He basically punked out and ran. Now you look at Andrea, you looked at Stacy. They came, they got the bad news that hey, they were not ready to love. They're being eliminated. Stacy cried, she was upset, but she came and she took it. David, on the other hand, he punked out and ran because I really think it, and this is just my personal opinion, that it had something to do with the loss of control. In other words, he knew that he was being eliminated. He knew what that conversation was going to be about. And for him to do that would have meant that he was ceding control to Liz, and that he was, not able to orchestrate the outcome in a way that made him look good. And instead of him just being able to say, you know what, yo, thank you, Liz, it was a great experience, whatever, let's go remain friends and keep it pushing. Instead, he couldn't even take that. He had to run away and say, I'm a man of God, I'm this, I'm that, instead of just taking the L with dignity and moving on.
Liz, I want to genuinely apologize, because I can't tell you or take away how things happen, but I want to speak to how it affected you.
So are you apologizing
Man,
to her
definitely,
now?
because again, whatever she felt was real. And I don't want this show to divide me from nobody in here.
Can somebody please explain that non-apology to me? I mean, he wants to talk about how it affected her. I mean, what is he even apologizing for if he in fact even apologized? It makes no sense to me. We talked about it before where when you give an apology, you apologize for what you did, how your actions, how your words affected that person. I don't know what the hell you called that, but that damn sure was not an apology. It was a bunch of words that were just thrown together and just didn't make any damn sense. Tommy, I guess, took it as an apology and moved forward with that. But from what I saw, that was about as big a non-apology as we've seen in the last couple seasons of this show.
I'm glad David Brown was removed. If you found love, and I mean that to my heart, and I'm sorry, yo, I promise. I mean it. No cash talk. I mean it.
No cash talk. Okay.
Seriously.
That's lovely.
Okay.
All right.
There's no.
How magnanimous of him. And in third person. Shit. Of all the dudes this season, I've liked the way David moved the least. Not because, you know, with David, it's a matter of I didn't lose, I just didn't win. In other words, he's going to take any situation and find a way to spin it as to where either he's not wrong or there's a reason why the other person misread it, so therefore he's right. That to me is problematic. But one of the main issues that I take with David is he finds a way to cloak himself in his Christianity, use his beliefs and his man of God thing in order to, prevent him from being criticized in any way, because I did this for you because I'm a man of God. That is just huge. It's a huge deal to me that, when I see people do that. That's one of the main things that I have just taken issue with David or throughout the course of the season on the episodes that he was on.
With her, she's strong, and she allowed me to go through this entire process and figure out what was best for me.
Huh. So she allowed him to go through the whole season and to figure out what's best for him. You don't say. You mean to tell me that she didn't ask him, hey, have you made a decision? I mean, what is it that you want? She didn't ask him none of that. She allowed him to go through the whole thing and figure out what he wants. See, let me stop. That right there is the issue that Kyra was trying to raise, I believe, in that, what you're doing, what they say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And that's the issue. Again, it's not got nothing to do with Jason. His choice is his choice, and I respect the dude for it. It's what he's saying there, and the hypocrisy of that statement is the whole issue when it comes to him and Kyra and how he was moving with her.
That's a wrap. Thank you guys at home for kicking it with us. And make sure you keep the conversation going online using #ReadyToLove. Next season, we're taking it to DC to find out if they are ready to love. I'm your boy, Thomas Miles. Good night. Love y'all.
So it's a wrap for season 4 of Ready to Love. Y'all, it's been an interesting season, and they are going to be in DC next year. Next season, I should say. I am looking forward to it. But before we get into it, I got a couple questions, a couple comments I want to make. First of all, was that a damn snake on Amber's dress? Y'all let me know. I've been curious about that the last couple episodes. I've been trying to figure out what the hell that is, but I don't know. Fashion is fashion. Like I said, I don't know nothing about fashion. It's kind of weird to me. But a couple of things that I wrote down, right? One is it seemed like the OWN network just let the show go and just do whatever the hell it wanted to after maybe the 6th or 7th episode. I don't know. If you go to the OWN website right now, or at least at the time of me recording this, making this production, you can see where they started graying out the people that were eliminated, whose journeys had come to an end, and then the other ones, they stayed colorized, right? But you can see that they're still showing David and Alexis and a couple others, Ron, who it seems like they just stopped working on the website and adding more information. And instead, what we got, and this leads into my second point, the social media aspect of the show. I get it, y'all. This is a sign of the times. Everybody's going to go live, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, whatever the case may be. But if you as a network or as the whether it's Will Packer or Nephew Tommy or just the OWN network in general, if you don't have some semblance of control, if you will, as to the information that the cast is putting out there, what you have is chaos. And it seemed like, and don't get me wrong, I get it. You're going to do interviews. You're going to, appear here and so forth. But this season, more so than the ones in the past, it's like every last one of them was going live talking about this, that, and the third. And I can't believe this, and I'm doing this. And it's like, God darn, it just seemed to go off the rails at a certain point. One thing I love, like with Marvel movies, I love them things. And one of the things that Disney and the Marvel Studios is they control the amount of information that the cast puts out there. And it's kind of like with magic. You don't want to see how the trick is done. You want to be impressed with the trick. You want to be impressed with the show. With Ready to Love, the cast was so out there, whether it's on social media in the Facebook group, whether it's Instagram where they're going live every damn second talking about what happened here and I said this and they did that, all of that stuff. It kind of cheapened the show to me. And honestly, if they keep doing this, or if this is how it's going to be, I don't see this show lasting much longer than that. I mean, you already have hints, if you will, or some of the cast are actors and this and that. Part of the show is the appeal of the show, at least for me, is that these are real everyday people that are ready to love. They're a part of the process. It's different, it's unique, it's a lot of things. But if you have a bunch of actors going on the show, then what's going to happen for us as viewers is that it's no longer a reality show, a reality show. It's now just like any other scripted television show, and it's not going to have the same appeal. So that is something that if they being the production company, if they don't get a hold of that, pretty soon we're just going to start tuning out, because if we wanted to watch a TV show, we'd watch a TV show. That's going to be one of the issues. Now, the good in this show is that it shows real people, and it shows how they move, whether they're socially awkward like Khalil or Christian or Andrea, or if it shows some people who are just don't get it, like Kyra. It's like, all right, you lost, keep it pushing. Or David, bruh, or Ron. You see all of or Troy, dear God, you see all of the personalities that we run into in our personal journeys to love, and you see the moves that are made and the mistakes that are made along the way. It's for me, I love people watching. That's why I'm a writer. I get to tell these stories. I see how people move, and then I put it down on paper. That's one of the things that appeals to me personally. I love the show. I love what they're doing, and Lord knows I love seeing Black people come together and move. These are all successful Black people in their own right. I love that. I really hope that they kind of get a grip on, get a handle on certain things for next season and moving forward. But outside of that, y'all, again, I enjoy this show. I'm looking forward to it next season. But in the meantime, until next season does get here, y'all, please make sure that you follow me on social media. Facebook and Instagram, it's going to be at author Christopher Markland. On Instagram, it's going to be author_Chris M. As always, y'all, every week I'm going to be doing my Markland Mondays broadcast, my podcast, where we talk about different relationship topics. I mean, we just did fireworks. Every week we're going to be talking about something different when it comes to relationships as a whole. And just like I did with this Ready to Love season and all the other ones in the past, I'm going to analyze it and analyze those romantic situations from a man's point of view, a man's perspective. Not going to do all the pandering. I mean, sometimes what I say, it may not, it is what it is. It's my unvarnished truth coming across as a man. And I look forward to getting the feedback, as well. So once again, y'all, I enjoyed this season. I enjoyed, interacting with y'all. And I am looking forward to many, many more broadcasts and productions. So, hey, if you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. And as always, y'all, stay determined. Thank you.